And I wanted to take a quick second up front to just talk about sort of what we mean when we talk about sort of the max version of a product. For when we talk about max, essentially that means that it is the kind of tools and modules that we've offered historically, but with layered in AI, agentic tools, generative AI tools, as well as real-time market intelligence from our Salary IQ data. And we're going to talk about exactly what that means, how we tie this together. But for us, we really see that as kind of the future of our product offerings. This kind of max model is just our newer approach to these products. So again, the data methodologies aren't changing. The software capabilities we've always had aren't changing. We're just layering on, again, more AI capabilities, which we'll showcase here today, and layering in some real-time market intelligence. And that's going to take different forms across our different products. Like our job description management tool will have different AI capabilities and market intelligence capabilities than, for example, like our market pricing tools, one of which we'll discuss today, depending on the different tools you're using. But you'll see sort of our max, quote unquote, versions of these products across our entire product line. And today, we're going to be focusing on CompAnalyst Market Data Max. And I know that we are going to be kind of targeting today, again, our what I would consider to be sort of our entry-level data product and some of the max enhancements that we're bringing to that side of the tool. Two things to note up front before we dig in and I kind of show you how this works. These max products are something that you have the opportunity to, first of all, upgrade to a full max package, the details of which your customer success team member can get into with you. But we do also have a certain amount of capability that I'll show you here today. You can access for free. We have some trial versions, some more limited usage versions if you wanted to take advantage of this in just a standard CompAnalyst market data subscription today. So you really do have the opportunity to try out virtually anything that I'm showing you here today. It's just a matter of connecting with your team to get that enabled. And we do have a link in the chat. If you would like to set up a demo, a deeper dive, we can make sure everything's routed to your appropriate people correctly here. But just wanted to give you that kind of information up front. So that's where we'll dive in today. And given the audience that I think this is targeted at, I think most folks are probably pretty familiar with our CompAnalyst market data tool today. But just as a very quick refresher, part of our CompAnalyst market data kind of base model here, this is where you could come in and search for specific job titles. You can browse through our library of jobs. You come in and search for specific titles. You could choose titles from the list here. If I wanted to look up, let's say like a HRIS manager, quick example here, we could always do a quick search. And this is something you've been able to do within the CompAnalyst market data system for a long time. Search for specific roles, pull up job descriptions, make sure it's a good fit, and then of course scope your market data down to certain geographic markets. So I want to narrow this down. We'll pick on our kind of home area of Boston here to narrow down to specific types of organizations. So say, what does this look like for a SaaS, like software, cloud computing organization, looking at different company size breakouts here as well. We can start to narrow this down. And the data that we return is exclusively HR reported. We go out and purchase the results of hundreds of compensation surveys that are run. Data's coming from the organizations themselves. And as a lot of you probably know, we're not mixing in any crowdsourced data. We don't take any data from our customers. We don't mix any methodologies here. It's exclusively HR reported kind of aggregate data coming from organizations themselves, with a lot of effort going into making sure job descriptions line up, leveling lines up. And that's, again, really the kind of core part of this system that we've offered for, at this point, like 20 years or so. So that's kind of the CompAnalyst market data tool. A lot of you probably have familiarity with that. We're going to talk about some of the max features and how this is built on and how we're starting to incorporate, again, AI, as well as some of our real-time market intelligence information. So one of the first places you could see these AI capabilities start to appear is in the job search itself. And again, we have exposed a lot of this to current customers today. We'll talk about some of the differences and kind of the full max option versus what you would receive by default. But one of the AI agents that is built in that you might see now is the ability to upload a job description and return a match. So have the system read through a description and pull back a relevant posting, or sorry, a relevant job in the system. In my case, I'm just going to load up a quick example of a job description here. So if we're looking for a match for our employee communications manager, I just imported the job description here, and the system is going to read it. It's going to take a look across our entire job catalog and help to recommend a good match for you. So we'll also give you a confidence score that's associated with that. So this can be helpful for jobs where you say, hey, we know the job description probably isn't something that's super foreign to most companies, or at least companies in our industry. Maybe the title's a little bit off, or it's not an obvious kind of find within the system. This can be a great option for doing that work. You can validate whether or not this is correct. If it's not correct, and I skip past this part, you could say, hey, this is closed. I want to see some other options. The system can surface some more suggestions for you. And then we can say, great, I'd like to jump into a CompAnalyst report. Maybe I'd like to pull back some real-time market intelligence data, which we'll be spending some time on in a moment. Maybe I want to see some skills information, look at some common interview questions for this job. So really just giving you a quick way to identify the correct job match and then pull up a relevant market data report or a few other types of reports based on that information. And you can start to narrow down based off of a market. So if I choose like our Boston location here, you can submit this. We'll pull back the relevant data in sort of a table view here if you'd like. We have some follow-up questions and queries we can ask. And we can also jump straight into that report in the CompAnalyst tool if we want to. So again, kind of a simple AI agent that's been built in. Again, you have some usage of this that's built into your CompAnalyst Market Data account today. If you're not on the Max package currently, it's absolutely something you can try out. With the Max package, you would just have basically more utilization built in to use this more often and more frequently. And it brought us right to this page for this job report. And from there, we've got our location scope, and we could start to narrow down from there. So it's kind of one area within the tool that we could see sort of a quick, helpful piece. One point I will mention as well, regardless of whether you're subscribed to the Max product or not today, you do have access to some market pricing services through your CompAnalyst Market Data subscription. So inevitably, you will have some jobs. I'm sure some of you have encountered this already, where you say, hey, there's a kind of a tougher position to match. Maybe it's a crazy title. It's something that's maybe more specific to our organization or like a niche industry. If you do run into those types of jobs, the AI tool will give you our closest match within the system, which can be helpful. But if there's not a kind of ideal match in the tool, then from there, you can always send that job description to your customer success team. You can always submit straight through the tool if you'd like to as well to request a quick job pricing. I recommend going through your customer success manager. They can turn things around pretty quickly. But that basically allows our consulting team to go in and do a deeper dive on your job description. You send over that description for us, and they can give you more of a custom job match if you'd like. And every customer of our tools has access to 10 of those per year. So not a max feature, but also something that not everybody knows about. So I always like to bring that up any chance that I get. So just a bit on kind of doing a single job match within the tool. As we get further into the conversation here, we'll talk about how we can use some job matching across broader sets of jobs. If you wanted to match like all of the jobs at your company, for example, there's some great tools that are built in for that as well. But just kind of focusing on this like single job match area here, some other areas that you'll see within this area here are, if you're using the Max package, some things that surface around skills. This is actually pulling from real-time job posting information. So as what we'll talk about, our Salary IQ data set goes out on a daily basis. It goes out and pulls relevant job postings. We're pulling back and processing millions of postings every night. And we're using AI to actually match up the content of those job postings with our benchmark jobs. So we're able to quickly pull back and say, hey, based off of the real-time data, we're seeing these skills that are surfacing across a lot of job postings. We're seeing that there are these salary premiums that are associated with those postings that explicitly mention this skill. This can be especially useful for jobs like in tech, manufacturing, where there might be hot skills that we can flag for you. And you can see, hey, what would the impact be if we needed to include this? Uh, you can also say, hey, if we wanted to factor this in and add this adjustment to our market data, what would that look like? And you could get sort of a quick ad hoc adjustment there if you wanted to. Another view, and we'll take a closer look into all of this in just a moment, is that if we do have competitors set up in the tool, we could see a quick data point based off of competitors that you've identified. This will be pretty high level. It could show you like, hey, your big competitors in this area are posting this for this job right now. I'll show you some better examples of that in just a moment, but that's kind of one other area you could see some of the max functionality surfaced here. I'll also, from here, be able to jump straight into like a Salary IQ market intelligence report. We'll see what this one surfaces for us here. But again, we are, this side I'm not usually in, don't need a tour. But we could see in this case, hey, we've shown you the market pricing data from our surveys. Here's what we're seeing in terms of job posting data, and also looking at some general market insights, showing some significant kind of market indicators saying, hey, posting activity for this job has increased significantly. Top companies kind of hiring for this job are as follows. What are the skills that tend to be the most in demand? Let's look at the hiring activity for these roles overall. And again, just seeing what those top companies are posting. Just layering on more of that real-time posting data to some of those insights on the more survey-driven foundational data set, which we'll talk about a bit more in the tool. And you can always jump into the full Salary IQ search, which we'll be doing in just a second for this job here. So if we're thinking about kind of the traditional CompAnalyst market data experience, those are some places where you'll start to see these max features layer in. And again, that includes some of these AI agents, layering in some of that market intelligence. But the Max product will also give you access to search our Salary IQ job posting data set live as well and get into a lot more depth, which we'll touch on in just a moment. But hopefully that's helpful so far. So we've seen some insights from Salary IQ that can automatically roll into the market pricing reports that you would traditionally run within CompAnalyst market data. If we jump into our Salary IQ module, this is where we can search that data explicitly and exclusively. So if I wanted to run a search, again, let's look at like an HRIS manager. We're looking at a specific title. We could do that here. And one thing that you'll see the tool do is it can first do a keyword search, which is really helpful for job titles that might not exist within kind of a traditional survey data set. An example we joke about a lot internally because we've used it to death is like a cheesemaker. Not a job you'd find in a lot of compensation surveys. I'm sure there are some, but within this tool, we could see, hey, we actually have 14 job postings out there with cheesemaker in the title. So it can be a really nice way to do some searching across job titles that might not be as common and you might have trouble finding within the CompAnalyst market data set. What we're also doing is taking those job postings. In this case, again, we're using this cheesemaker example here. We're taking all of those job postings and our AI tool is reading them and saying, hey, we think the closest match within our system for these postings is this production technician. And it's pretty good. It's looking at some of these contexts. Essentially, a cheesemaker is probably a production manufacturing type role. Obviously, there's some nuances when we're working with food and beverage and cheese specifically. So we could say, now let's just explicitly call out those jobs that mention cheesemaker. But if we wanted to broaden this out to like a production technician and say, hey, this is kind of a comparable job in the market, we have the option to do that too. So the tool's doing a lot of AI analysis, again, of millions of job postings every day and allowing you to search based off of job descriptions instead of just job titles, um, which can be really useful, especially in situations where titles might vary for a given role. I think of like another area where this comes in really handy is for like a retail sales associate. If I can spell it here, we're just going to go ahead and take the ball drop on that one. But if we wanted to plug in a retail associate here, um, this is saying, great, hey, this could potentially line up to a retail sales staff position. It could potentially line up to a retail store customer service position. If we go down the list, we'll see things like cashier that appear. But either way, we can search based off of this job description, which gets us a lot more results. So some cool things we could do here on that side. But if I jump back to our HRIS manager example, in this case, I actually like say, hey, this is a pretty good job description for me to search on. So we'll go ahead and take this. We can narrow down to a specific location or even specific companies if we wanted to here. And this will give us more of that real-time view of the market. So again, these are basically pay ranges that are being posted on job postings. Companies are hunting for candidates. So there's some grains of salt to take that with. That doesn't always translate to like what the final offer is going to be. Different companies have different philosophies with the ranges that they post. And especially in some states, countries, there might not be mandates to post pay ranges. So we have ways of kind of working with all of that. But overall, this is really built to be sort of a gut check in general. And in this case, we're seeing, hey, we have our HRIS manager job description. If we wanted to look at the top companies who are hiring for this role right now, we certainly can. This is really great if you're looking at a super industry specific position because you might see your peers and competitors start to appear here. If you wanted to in the system, you could also build out peer groups. So if you know that, hey, there are really 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however many competitors that do what you do, are really hiring comparable jobs, you could search based off of the companies that are hiring instead of just the title as well. You could build out and maintain different peer groups in the system. We're also flagging that, hey, it looks like we're seeing some specific call outs for things like workday. It's like change management, continuous improvement. These are skills that are called out. Sometimes there are premiums associated with these specific skills or call outs. Just saying, hey, in this case, about 55% of the postings that we're seeing mention workday specifically. So kind of a neat market intelligence tool just to see what's out there. We can see some of the hiring trend data. The other really cool aspect of this is just being able to get extremely specific with your certain markets. So again, keeping it on our home turf here. In this case, we could say, let's look at postings across the Northeast. Let's look at postings across Massachusetts, Boston, and then go a level deeper to say like, hey, we want to look at Cambridge, or we want to look at some of these like sub-metro markets beyond just sort of the major metro areas. This comes in really handy if you have roles that are super location sensitive, thinking again like retail sales staff, hospitality, a lot of those non-exempt type workers. This can be a really cool tool to get extremely detailed in a way that, again, you might not be able to differentiate in a traditional survey source between like the Bronx and greater New York City. So we could start to narrow down that way. Then we could also actually jump into the job postings themselves. See, all right, what's Accenture posting for these jobs? What titles they have? Again, this does not say HRIS manager, but we've read the job description, and it's basically saying, hey, we've read this description. It's a comparable match. And you could read through, you could see any of the posting data in context. And from here, we could say, great, hey, here's some of the posting ranges, giving you some higher level insight here. And if you wanted to go through and prune some of those results, said, hey, this is a good fit. The range is a little too broad, or maybe I could see how it got to this point, but for us, it's not a relevant example. You just come in and remove them from your report and clean it up a little bit more. So again, not as kind of tight and clean of a data set as the survey data. The advantage, though, is that it is real time. or as close to real time as you can get, which is nightly in this case. And you have transparency into these actual company names, the organizations that are posting, and the ability, again, if I'm McDonald's, for example, to go out and say, hey, I have my 10 other big competitors in these markets. I want to look at what Chick-fil-A is posting. I want to look at what Burger King's posting. You can call those out specifically and add that on as a layer to say, hey, is this really kind of the market picture we need to be looking at? We also have customers that might give some access to this to like their talent acquisition teams, for example, and it helps from that point because we're still doing some leveling against these kind of benchmark jobs. It definitely has more of I'd call a disciplined compensation focus, and it can help to make sure everyone's working off of the same data sets. So Salary.IQ is a tool we're really excited about. There's lots of features, not even mentioning here. The last few things that I'll quickly wrap up on are, again, we might have postings that don't have pay ranges attached to them. In those cases, we use what we call our Range IQ tool to help come up with estimated ranges. You can always see when we're doing that. So we'll always indicate whether, hey, this is a range we're coming up with and modeling versus one that's explicitly posted. And you can also actually weed out some of those posted, or you can weed out the job descriptions or postings that don't have a pay range attached and just look explicitly at posted views if you want. So lots of cool stuff we could do. We could go on about these features for a while. One of the other cool features is just being able to go back in time. So if you have like a really unique job title, say, hey, there aren't a lot of like cheesemaker job descriptions that are out there, not a lot of postings. So let's open this up to the last 6 months. Let's open this up to the last year. We retain job posting data for 3 years going back in time, which allows us, of course, to trend data, but also it's great if you say, maybe for this job in our specific location, there aren't any live postings, but I want to see what folks have posted in the last 6 months, for example. So some kind of neat things we can do on the Salary.IQ level there. And as I mentioned too, we won't go into too many examples here, but you could build out an explicit peer group as well. So if we wanted to say like, I want to add some peers, I want to just search for any company that posts jobs. They don't have to be Salary.com customers. It's all public data. Start to do that here. You could search for any organization that's out there, build a peer group, and do reporting on that as well. So that's one of the huge advantages of leveraging the Max tool. Again, if you're on just kind of standard CompAnalyst Market Data today or one of our other kind of non-Max subscriptions, we can still give you some trial runs on these reports if you'd like to test it out, see what makes the most sense, and always happy to do a demo as well. But if you click the link in the chat, we'll direct you to the right place to get some more information, whether that's a phone call, quick email follow-up, anything we can do. So those are some of the features just on the additional data, kind of how this would blend in with the existing CompAnalyst Market Data tool. The other big area of functionality that I wanted to talk about is being able to actually load in some company jobs and do more kind of management and bulk job matching within the system. So technically, if you have CompAnalyst Market Data or if you've used it in the past, you have always been able to load your company jobs into the system. It's always been more of sort of a just quick, like almost like a bookmarking exercise. So if you have a job title or you'd like to mark that, hey, this job in CompAnalyst matches to this job in our internal kind of job catalog, it's been a place to maintain that. For customers historically, it can be really helpful if you just want to keep track of what your matches are. You can always export like a spreadsheet report that just has all of your matches. So if you're doing like an annual review, that can be really helpful. But we've added a lot within the Max product to help make that a lot easier. And there's a little more incentive to do that because now we can help you with some kind of bulk AI matching in this case, which we'll touch on. So if we wanted to do this, there are a handful of ways we could go about it. But let's say that we're a company and we're using CompAnalyst Market Data Max. And instead of just doing like ad hoc market pricing, we'd really like to go through and match all of our jobs and standardize those reference points so that we could do either a full analysis or just keep things consistent as we have requests throughout the course of the year. We could import, let me jump back over here quickly. Um, we could import our company jobs just through a simple Excel file if we wanted to. If you click on upload multiple jobs, we'll give you a quick template that you could pull from and populate if you wanted to. We do have another option for this, actually, technically a couple of other options as well. Um, if you wanted to maybe take like a job report from your HRIS, for example, one of our AI agents, and I'm on sort of our AI agent dashboard here, which you would kind of see when you logged in. We have an import agent that can actually help you with this process. So it's not that this template is going to be too complex. Just kind of click into this again here. Pull up that import agent. It's not that our template is terribly complex, but again, if you wanted to just load in like an export from your HRIS, the system can basically take that and do some loading for you. In my case, I'm going to set up just a simple HRIS export that I've pulled. And it essentially has like job title, job code, job description. Job description is not required, but it is encouraged. And the tool can look at your export automatically or whatever you're importing, and it can say, hey, it looks like you have a column for job code. We're going to map that to company job code. You have a column for job title. We're going to map that to the comp analyst title. This one's really straightforward. But if you had other fields like job levels, job families, the tool could basically parse through your import file, make sure that's all mapped correctly. If you needed to change this and say, hey, for us, it's job description, but we may end up needing to map this to another field, you can do that. But in this case, I'm just going to continue with these mappings. And anyone who's imported data into any type of database style system knows this can be a bit of a pain if you have to like get your field headers exactly right, map those fields. In this case, the AI tool makes this really seamless. So we just drop this file into the system. We could show a preview if we wanted to, which I'll do here. And just see like, hey, we're taking your file. This is how we're mapping it into the tool. This looks pretty good. It looks like our job code, title, description are all lined up correctly. We could complete that validation process. So the system's just checking my file in this case to make sure that everything looks right. It's going to help either flag errors for us or just correct them if there are like formatting issues, which again, if you've loaded files into an HRIS or other types of tools like that, that can be a little bit of a pain to just constantly have to re-import until you get it right. In this case, it's gone ahead and validated. To import that valid data, and it will just take a quick second to import those 204 job records that I'd like to load in. So usually doesn't take too long. Usually it's under a minute. Already done. So import process is complete. And from here, we'll have our jobs that are loaded. And we can jump right into a job matching session if we want to, which we will do in just a second. We just want to kind of show you where this will appear first. Once we import these jobs, we can now see all of those jobs that I imported are displaying on my Our Company Jobs page. And from here, we can have our AI tool actually go through and recommend matches to the market data. So it's going to look at our titles. If you're able to load in job descriptions, that's even more helpful. This is one of my favorite parts where it just went through and did a first pass at matching 204 jobs to our CompAnalyst Market Data. Anyone who's spent time kind of hunting for job matches, especially for more unique roles, knows that it can take a really long time. The tool gives you an estimate of how much time this just saved. In this case, it's saying 51 hours. Depends on the job, but it is pretty significant for a first pass. And we're also giving you these confidence scores, like you saw within that single job match agent as well. So in this case, I'm looking at our confident matches. The tool feels pretty good about these 188 matches. We can actually see these reflected here if we see like it's entry-level accountant maps to this accountant one. It's a bit of a no-brainer, but we've got some other examples as we kind of run through here. And then we'll have other matches too, where we say, hey, we think this needs closer review. We didn't feel as confident about the match. Maybe we found the best match within the system, but it might really not fully capture your job. This is where we can kind of share that feedback. It's just all about transparency as we go through this. And we encourage you to go through and review these matches. You could pop up these job descriptions, make sure they're a good fit. If you have any job summaries or descriptions on your side you're loading in, we could show that too. And you could either go through and validate those matches one by one, or you just auto match all of them. But we will not let you auto match the needs review matches. So in this case, I'll go ahead and I'm just going to have the system sign off on this for the sake of review. Start to run this. And again, in practice, again, you'll want to go through and review those matches. The goal is to hopefully get a lot of the low-hanging fruit off of your plate. So then we have this tied in the system to say, our entry-level accountant maps to this job in CompAnalyst. So now if we'd like to run a report, or if we'd like to take a closer look, or even just search based off of our job descriptions or our job titles in the future, instead of having to go in and guess what CompAnalyst job we used in the past, this is a great way to do it. And you start to look at the data through the lens of your jobs instead of through the lens of ours. So, and you could also plug in some other data points to say, like, what's the average employee pay? If you wanted a quick reference there, run exports. So again, if you're going through a big pricing project, or if you know that, hey, we're going to be going through a full comp study and we want to price all of our jobs in general, don't want to do it kind of as manually, this could be a really good option. Again, folks will have access, even if you're not subscribed to CompAnalyst Market Data Max, you will still have access to these features. The big difference is that it will be just a reduced amount of usage. But in a lot of cases, we could still cover a lot of job matching based off of that. But again, if you click the link in the chat, you can work with our team and we'll figure out what makes the most sense for you. So there's a lot that we've added in as part of this Max package. It's just the beginning. We're adding more AI agents and tools as time goes on. We're adding more and more by the month. So we'll continue to keep you apprised of things that are updated here. One of the last pieces that I'll quickly show you, it is kind of AI related, it starts to run a report that's actually specific to your organization, is this real-time market insights report. This is something that would come with the Max package here. And basically, this is a monthly report that the tool will run. Again, we'll know who the organization is. You can have your defined peers, for example, and it just gives you a quick view of the market for kind of your purposes. So it's looking at like hot jobs based off of your titles, showing a lot of movement, positions where maybe pay or demand is really increasing significantly within the market today. We'd see like hiring trends that come across from here as well. So just kind of a cool snapshot of the market as it's relevant to you. And then we can also share this report out if we prefer to through a link, through email, and that will be refreshed on a monthly basis. So I'm sure there are some other pieces that I'm missing here, but hopefully you can see, beyond just sort of the ad hoc pricing tool, the CompAnalyst Market Data has been historically, this kind of Max package starts to leverage AI tools. It starts to leverage that real-time market intelligence. And the goal is to bring it all together in one environment that makes it seem really seamless. We're doing this across all of our product lines. So CompAnalyst Enterprise, across our job description management tools, across our Comp Excel compensation planning tool. We've added in some of these AI features for this Max product. We'll be continuing to add them, but you can sort of see where we're headed, just making these tools more intelligent across the board.